GTX contains a printout feature which enables you to print the race details, with or without historical form, as a personalized form guide to take to the track or the TAB. Bear in mind that for simplicity's sake in this demonstration, I will be using the Print Race button on the toolbar. This prints only the race that you are viewing. The Print All button next to it prints all loaded races. So if you have all the day's meetings loaded into GTX, the Print All button will send all of the races in all of the meetings to the printer. You can choose what information you want in your printout and in what order you want the columns to appear. You can also choose which ranking order you want in your printout. GTX itself does not print the document, but sends it to the default word processor on your computer from where you actually print it. This means that when you click the Print Race or Print All button, the word processor on your computer will open and display the document. To simplify this video and to save time, I will edit out the word processor bits and just show you the resulting printout. The two printout examples shown here are both in the default printout setup configuration as samples. The first is printed in the saddlecloth/TAB order, while the second is printed in the WPR rating order. However, any one of the ranking orders on your rank bar can be used to rank your printout. And you can edit the default configuration file and save it with your own selected data columns if you wish. These samples have used only 3 of the elements available to you for configuring a printout: the race info, the parameter heading, and the parameters. You can choose the typeface you prefer, and its color, size, and whether bold or not. Although for data aligned in columns, as the parameters are here, it would be advisable to use a fixed width or monospaced typeface, such as Lucida Console or Courier New or Consolus, to ensure that the data columns are kept tidy and lined up in columns. Look what happens if you use a proportional typeface instead. Also, the typeface size of your parameter heading and parameters should be the same so that the parameter data are lined up correctly under each parameter heading. Okay, let's do a simple demonstration of how you can create your own printout or form guide. On the GTX menu bar, click on Setup, then Print. You will remember that the first printout image I showed you was this, which was printed using the default print configuration file or default.pcf. So to edit that configuration file, at the bottom of the window we click the down arrow and select default.pcf from the list of print configuration files, because at this stage that's the one we want to edit. We'll do just a simple edit and save it. We'll add a blank line under the race info and underline the parameter heading. As mentioned previously, this default printout configuration contained 3 sets of data: the race info, the parameter heading, and the parameter info. To add our blank line, we select the plus line checkbox in the race info section, and in the parameter heading section, click on the font button, then select the underline checkbox, then OK. You can leave the default configuration intact and save your new configuration file with a name that means something to you. In this case, we'll just name it Sample. So click once in the File field to select the default name and type Sample to overwrite the name. Then click the Save Set As button. Then click OK to close the setup window. Then click the Print Race button, and your printout should now contain those 2 changes. Just while we're here, if the print file can't open, It will mean that it is already open, or you don't have Run as Administrator saved in the GTX desktop shortcut, as advised in our earlier video entitled Install and Register GTX. For another quick example, we'll add some more info. Back in the Setup window, we'll select Horse, Form Heading and Form Info. We'll just leave the font in the default state and click OK. Then click Print Race. You will see that we now have, in addition to our initial information, each horse's form for its previous 5 runs. Now, a few other things that are good to know. You might have noticed that each time we open the Setup Printout window, the print configuration file is always shown as current.pcf, even though we have been working on a different file, namely sample.pcf. That is because when you click the OK button, the current.pcf file is overwritten with the data from the last selected PCF file, in our case, sample.pcf. The reason for this is so that when you have finalized your creation and editing of your own printout file and clicked OK, you can happily print races for Forever Amber without needing to select a print file each time. You would only need to come back to the Setup Print window in order to make changes or select a different print configuration file if you have created any. You are able to create as many as you like, as long as you save each with a different name. Over here on the left in the Order column, these numbers indicate the order in which your various groups of data appear in your printout. You can't change the numbers directly, but you can change the order by deselecting your options, then reselecting in the order that you prefer. In the Edit column, you can click a spanner to show, on the left, the list of data in alphabetical order that you can choose to include in your printout, and on the right, the list of data that are currently in your printout, in the order that it appears. Top to bottom in the list equates to left to right in your printout. You can change what data are included, like so. You can remove current fields by double-clicking them, or change position of the fields by dragging them to a new position. To add a field from the available fields to the current fields, click and drag the field you want to the position you want it. Alternatively, double-click the field, which will place it at the bottom of the current fields, then just drag it to the position you want. The buttons in the Font column enable you to specify the typeface and its styling for each of the types of data that you have included in your printout. The Sample column at the right reflects your typeface and styling choices. The plus line checkboxes are used to specify where you would like a blank line inserted after the related section of data. This one, for example, indicates that you want a blank line after the race info, as you can see here. If your printout includes a further section of data, such as the horse and form as shown previously, you would probably also choose to insert a blank line after the parameter info, like so. The plus page checkboxes work in a similar way. For example, if you had several sections of data that filled, say, 3/4 of a page, you could select the checkbox relating to the last section of data, and the printout would put the following race and its data on a new page. Now we'll take a brief look at the other panes of the Setup window. On the General tab, File Format is where you specify whether you want to output your printout in text only or in rich text format or RTF. If you want your printout's text to be formatted, that is, bold or coloured or underlined, etc., as we have noted previously, then you should leave this setting at the default RTF. If you output as TXT or text, you don't get any styling. It would be just like so. Print the top 24 horses simply means that you want all horses included in the printout. If you are interested in printing only the, say, top 5 ranked horses, you could change this to 5. New page every 0 races means that this default setting would allow each race in the printout to follow immediately after the previous race and its data on the same page, space allowing. Changing it to 1, for example, would print each race on a new page. Skip scratched horses is fairly obvious. It simply means that scratched horses will not be included in the printout. Now to the Paper and Margins tab. If you want to fiddle with margins, that's the amount of space between your text and the edge of the page, do it here. Most of you are in Australia, so you'd probably be printing on A4 sized paper, so make sure that A4 is selected here. Orientation is whether you want your page to be portrait or landscape. Some people refer to it as vertical or horizontal. If the columns of data you have selected for your printout don't fit on a vertical or portrait, you may need to choose landscape. On the Customize Form Printout tab, it's probably best to just leave these default settings, unless you want more or less than 5 form runs in your printout, where you have selected to include each horse's form. This example shows the number of form runs having been reduced to 3 from the default 5. Now the Customize Photo Finish tab. Because of one of Microsoft's internal changes to the Windows operating system, the Print Full Graphic option of the photo finish is not currently available, so just forget about that one for the moment. Your options for the photo finish, if you have specified its inclusion in your printout, are whether to print number only or print number and partial name. You can also choose to include a so-called photo finish according to the rated order of the GTX speed map, and whether to include that together with the normal photo finish or the speed map alone. When you've made all your choices on the various tabs, go to the Print Configuration list, choose the file you're editing, in this demonstration the sample PCF we created earlier, then click the Save Set As button to save all your changes and edits, and click OK. Then click Print Race to check if all is as expected. Another couple of things to know. If you get word wrap in your printout, which will mess up your columns, you will need to reduce the amount of data columns, or use a smaller font if possible, or change the orientation of the page to landscape on the Paper and Margins tab. Now to print order, which we have mentioned previously in this demonstration. As you know, you can rank the runners shown on the field view a number of ways, simply by clicking buttons on the rank bar. For example, saddlecloth or TAB order, GTX speed map rated order, GTX ratings order, or WPR ratings order. You will notice that one of the ranking buttons has a coloured border around it, which indicates default print order, meaning that your printout will be printed in this ranking order no matter which ranking order is currently selected to view the runners in the race. You could be looking at the race in, say, morning line ranked order, but when you click the print button, your printout will still emerge in the default print order, in our case, the WPR ranked order. If this default print order doesn't suit you, you can change it. On the menu bar, click on Setup, then Ratings. In the Ratings Display Options window, click on the button of the ranking order that you would prefer to make your default print order, then OK. Please be aware that this new setting is applied to race files as they are automatically imported into GTX following their download. All races already on your computer at the time of changing the default print order retain their previous setting. You can override the default and change the print order for the currently viewed race by holding down your Shift key and then clicking on your chosen ranking order button, which will then be surrounded by the coloured frame. To override the default print order for all loaded races, hold down the Control and Shift keys and click on the ranking order button of choice. These print order settings will be held for the races they were changed on until they are once again changed. If the meetings are reloaded into GTX on a future occasion, they will retain the changed settings.